Hey guys, and welcome back to Mad About Skin. It is super early here in the UK, but I've decided to sit down and film for you my morning skincare routine. However, I think we've all seen morning skincare routines, both here on this channel, but also from other content creators here on YouTube. So I'm going to mix it up a bit. I'm going to show you how to effectively layer your products according to pH. This is a question I get asked time and time again by you guys. How do you incorporate low pH products, such as exfoliating acids, in the same routine as pH sensitive ingredients, such as peptides? Ingredients like peptides become less effective and can become denatured if they're in a low pH environment. So how do you actually incorporate all of this in one skincare routine? Do not worry, I've got you covered. So sit down, relax as we go through my morning skincare routine. Now, before we jump into it, and I've got an awful lot to get through, but I did just want to call out, if you want to see the evening version of this routine, then actually I'm going to film this and put it up on our Facebook group, which is Mad About Skincare. I'll leave a link below, so join that group if you want to see the evening equivalent of this. If you haven't got Facebook, don't worry, there's an email below there. If you'd like to see that video, just ping me an email across and I'll quite happily send it to you, because I appreciate not everybody has Facebook. But cut the waffle and let's get straight on into it. I actually cleansed off screen because whilst I know so many influencers can do the whole round the sink, water, lathering, that just isn't me. I can't multitask, and water and equipment would be a disaster. So I actually cleansed off screen. I used this product, which is the Jelly Joker Cleanser by Geek and Gorgeous. I don't really think everybody needs to cleanse on a morning. I have super oily skin and I need something to just take away all that excess oil that I built up overnight. So cleansing is quite important to me, but I think if you have quite dry skin types, maybe just a splash of water to freshen up everything, take off that top layer of maybe sweat that you've accumulated overnight is more than enough. So I use this, which is the Jelly Joker Cleanser, which is the most effective cleanser when it comes to taking off all of that excess oil, but not leaving me really stripped and dried. I maybe patted dry my skin around 5 minutes ago before I film this, and it still feels quite hydrated, certainly not tight. I also love, and I kind of mix and match these two depending on what I fancy on the day. This is the From Green Deep Foaming Cleanser by Purito. I love this because it feels luxurious. Both of these are jelly style cleansers, so they feel bouncy, they feel luxurious. Just a really, really nice cleansing steps. I think both of these work super, super well if you're trying to just control some of that excess oil in your life. Now, that was all done off camera, so let's get into the routine itself. Well, first of all, let me take off my glasses, reveal the dark circles. It's been a little bit of a hectic fortnight here. I haven't got as much sleep as I would like, so I am paying the price a little bit for the dark circles. So I'm first going to reach for this. This is the Typology Niacinamide and Caffeine solution. Caffeine is fantastic at just taking away some of that darkness under the eye, any inflammation, any puffiness that you have. I would recommend, I've kind of been experimenting with this one for maybe the past month, and I would say if you have quite a dry under eye, I definitely think this one by Typology is more hydrating than the ordinary caffeine solution. If you find you break out in this area, you're prone to milia, or maybe you have a bit of an oily under eye area, I think the ordinary caffeine solution is preferable to this one. So I work on, these two worked for different skin types, I would say. I've linked all the products I mentioned below, so if you do want to check them out, read the reviews, maybe you want to make a purchase, all in the description box below. I'm just going to let that do its work, sink in, and I find that this will work after about 2, maybe 3 minutes. We're going to move quickly now on to the exfoliating step. I think you don't have to wait. Normally I'd say wait a minute between each application, but because I'm not going to be putting my exfoliator under the eye where I've just put that treatment, that doesn't really apply. That only applies when you're putting product on top of product. I have 2 exfoliators that I reach for day in, day out. This is the Glycolic Cell solution by Face Theory. I love this. This is a very high strength blend of glycolic acid, lactic acid, and salicylic acid. So it kind of does it all. If you don't have any skin sensitivity, this is great. For people with sensitive skin, it'll be a bit too strong. Today, because I have just shaved, I shaved in the shower, and I think this will be a little bit too strong for my skin. So I'm going to reach for this, which is the Lactic Acid 10% by The Ordinary. It's just a little bit more hydrating and a little bit more gentle on the skin. I would always say, just as a heads up for any guys watching, if you've shaved your face, think of that as an exfoliation. So we often think, shaving and then we exfoliate. Shaving's actually a manual exfoliation. You're removing the top layers of skin. It's actually a very effective exfoliation tool. So I never apply this product where I have shaved. So I'm going to focus this down on those areas where I haven't shaved this morning, just to make sure that all areas of the face get a really nice exfoliation. So this is going on the forehead. It's going to go on the tops of the cheeks where I do get some hyperpigmentation. and it's just going across the nose. Now, I probably should have said prior to this, my skin type is oily, breakout, acne prone, but I'm also trying to, target the first signs of aging. I'm in my mid-30s, and so, fine lines, wrinkles, they're a fact of life, and so I'm kind of trying to offset that as well. Now, we just let that sink in, and I think it's really important with your exfoliator that you give it a couple of minutes to work, because what it's doing now is eating away at all those bonds that are holding the dead skin cells onto the gorgeous glowing skin beneath. You need to give it a couple of minutes to actually become really effective before you then apply the next steps in your routine. My next step is actually going to be this. This is the Skinneren Azelaic acid. You can use any azelaic acid at this point in your routine, because what I'm doing is separating this routine into two halves. The first half are products that aren't impacted by pH. The second half are going to be the products that are, and we're going to buffer between them. Azelaic acid doesn't always have a super low pH like you'd assume. You hear acid, you think low pH. However, it's perfectly fine to use in a low pH environment. This was actually prescribed to me by my dermatologist for tackling some breakouts and acne, but you can reach for some gorgeous azelaic acids, which I'm going to leave a link to a video up there with my favourite over-the-counter products. All of them will work so well. And I don't know that I'm actually getting any extra benefit from this prescription strength beyond what I got in those other products. I use a very small amount, and again, I just dab it on the areas where I tend to be more acne prone, which is on my skin pretty much everywhere. You do get a little bit of a tingle with azelaic acid sometimes, so my top tip would be to keep it in the fridge, because if you keep it in the fridge, that just dials down some of that tingle and gives a nice cooling to the skin. So I'll just throw that out there as a tip that you can use. I'm filming this, so I'm not always timing that minute, that 60 seconds between each step, but that's something I definitely call out as super important. So leave 60 seconds if you can between each step. Now that azelaic acid is just working, it's doing its thing. I find this is in quite a hydrating base, so it's quite a nice product to use. And then we're going to move on to buffering. Now, while we're letting all of that do its work, what I talk about buffering is a product which is pH balanced to your skin. We're looking at that 5 to 6 on the pH scale. There's loads of products out there, and I choose one that doesn't have too many actives in. I'm going to read some of my favourites here that I'm going to share with you, but of course there's so many others you can choose from. This is the V Green Nature Mucin Serum. This is a natural alternative, well, a plant-based alternative to snail mucin. I don't like snail mucin, it's a bit slimy. I know you guys love it. So you could use whatever, snail mucin product you're enjoying at the moment, or this, which is the plant-based alternative. I also love the Stratia Rewind. This, stunning. It just has a really nice blend of like hyaluronic acid, some niacinamide in there. It's also got some humectants to just make sure that your skin is plump and hydrated, but it's also perfectly balanced to the skin's pH of 5.5. So this would be a really great buffering option. I'm calling out for UK beauty, your Korean skincare fanatics out there. This is the Calming Serum by Beauty of Yosen, one of my favourite Korean brands. And why I love this is it's got panthenol in, which calms and soothes the skin. So if you feel that the low pH products we've just used are maybe a little bit harsh on your skin, maybe you're feeling the tingle, you're feeling that your skin needs something to calm and soothe it, panthenol will do it. And this has green tea, which is an antioxidant. It's just all around a beautiful, beautiful serum, and one that I definitely recommend. For me, I usually reach, if I'm not reaching for one of those, I usually reach for this. This is the Geek and Gorgeous Liquid Hydration. You guys will have seen this on the channel so often. I'm a total fangirl for this product. Again, panthenol, which the Beauty of Yosen had in for calming and soothing, but also it's a really nice blend of amino acids, which are just going to help to hydrate and also trigger that production of collagen. I'm going to go for this one today. I feel like my azelaic acid's probably been on for a minute, and I just dab it onto the skin. You literally just whiz it over the skin where you've put those low pH products. Now let that do its work. I think some people think it neutralizes like that. It'll take about a minute to do its work and to bring the skin's pH back to what you should. But if you think of how this works, you've got your low pH products. Your skin starts at a 5.5. You apply your low pH products, which take it down to maybe a 2 or a 3 on the pH scale. And you need to bring that back up to 5.5 to allow the other pH sensitive ingredients to be incorporated. So I've thrown that on. Leave it in, I can already feel cooling, soothing. That panthenol is gorgeous. I feel like my skin already feels a little bit more awake, a little bit more vibrant. So yeah, full fangirl for that. And while I'm doing and waiting for that to do its work, I'll apply the Azuraline solution by The Ordinary. I apply this on my crow's feet area where I'm seeing those first fine lines and wrinkles. Now, the reason I apply this, even though that hasn't strictly been on for the full 60 seconds, is because where I'm applying this, I didn't actually put any of that exfoliator. So it doesn't really matter as much when it comes to this product. I love the Azelaic solution. I'm nearly out of this bottle and I have another couple on order. It is stunning. It's also, a review of this is the most watched video on the channel, which is bizarre. I don't know why it took off like that. So I'll leave a link to that video because I just updated the thumbnail because it was a little bit, it's one of my earlier videos. So check that out if you do want to know any more about this holy grail. Ding, 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 10 out of 10 product. Now we're going to move on to the treatments, which I love to include in my skincare routine on a morning, but can be a little bit pH sensitive. First of all is the Copper Amino Isolate Serum by Neod. I love this. This is like anti-aging in a bottle. If you don't want to use this, you could also use the Hylamide Sub-Q Skin. I tend to mix between the two because both are absolutely fantastic. If you want a much more affordable option, you could go for the Matrixyl by The Ordinary, which also work. They're all peptide based. This one is definitely the most potent of all of them and the best for anti-aging. I'd say the Sub-Q Skin is the best all-rounder. And then you've got the affordable option, which would be the Matrixyl by The Ordinary. I'm also going to apply the Neod Repigment, which, as you guys know, is like my #1 go-to for my hyperpigmentation. I'm going to apply this first because just to let it absorb before we put the Repigment on top. But in terms of how you replace these, it's not as crucial. This is in a beautiful dark coloration. I love that blue. It's like that copper blue is everything. And I am a little bit sparing with this product because it's a bit on the expensive side. So I don't go too lavish. I apply that on the skin and then I'll just wait, again, that 60 seconds to let it do its work. I feel this is so good for my skin and it just feels absolutely gorgeous. In terms of the repigment, some people will say it's classed as a lower pH product because the pH isn't exactly balanced. Whilst that kind of is true because I use it as a direct pigment treatment, so I just do it on the areas where I have that pigmentation. I don't worry about it as much. It's the copper peptides and the Azelaic that you want to make sure that you're not putting directly next to a low pH product. This has a beautiful blend of 15 different brightening agents, so it's going to lift that pigment, but it's going to work in multiple different ways. They call them different pathways to pigmentation. So it reduces the amount of pigmentation produced in that area, which is great. It also helps to eradicate the pigmentation quicker. So it'll prevent the pigment building, but also get rid of the pigment that has built quicker and just give an all over brightening to the area. My pigmentation has been so much improved since I've started using this. There is just one area that I like to tackle, and that's a zit that hasn't faded particularly well. It's here on my cheek, so I'm just going to dab that on and just leave it to do its work. I also have a tiny bit up here, which I'll just put a tiny amount on there. I think this product is amazing, but it does go a long way. So a tiny amount, that was one drop and that covered those areas. I think that's all you need. It's super bougie, super expensive, so you don't want to pay too much money and then waste it by being too lavish with the product. Definitely small but potent, and I love this product. Now, the final steps before I leave you all is just the moisturization and the sunscreen. Actually, the sunscreen is probably the most important step, so I shouldn't be too dismissive. And I do like to mix it up with my sunscreens. I recently did a video which has gone mad. Honestly, you guys have gone mad for it, and the views are through the roof. So if you haven't seen it already, it captures the best tried and tested Korean sunscreens. So I'll leave a link to that if you're still looking for that verified sunscreen from Korea. Definitely a video to check out. But the two that I'm using at the moment are this. This is the Make Prem UV Defense Me Fluid, and this is the Neod Survival 30. This has antioxidants already in and is super moisturizing. This is a little bit more on the mattifying side, and I would say you'd want to add an antioxidant alongside it. If I'm using this, I'll put a base of the Face Theory Super Gel Moisturizer underneath just to make sure that hydration is locked in because this can be on the drying side. So I pair this with a moisturizer if you're going to apply it. The Neod Survival 30 is just everything in a bottle. So basically it hydrates, it's got 15 different antioxidants, and it also has the SPF 30, which is tried, tested, and verified. So just to keep it simple, keep it easy, and mean that this video doesn't run to like 30 minutes, I'm just going to use the Survival, which is a little bit of a cheat. In the US, you can't, I don't believe, get the Survival 30 from the Decium US website, but you can get it on Beauty Bay. So I'll leave links to that below if you want to try this out, but you're in the US. Now, I would use 2 pumps of this product. And just apply it all over the skin. Because it's a sunscreen, you're going to want to be a little bit more liberal than you would with a standard serum. Don't forget the tops of the eyes and the tops of the ears. Work that all in, and it just feels so good on the skin. It's like velvet on the skin, and I absolutely love it. I've been using this probably for the past 2 years, and it just does everything I need. It cuts so many steps out of your routine because you don't need a moisturizer, you don't need a separate antioxidant. It does it all. Yes, it's a bit expensive when you compare it to some other drugstore available sunscreens, but for the feel on the skin, for that velvet sheen and all the ease of application, this is definitely my go-to. So there you have it, guys. My morning skincare routine, but more importantly, how to separate your pHs, how to layer effectively in a pH routine to make sure that you're not denaturing or reducing the efficacy of any of the serums you use, but also that you can keep it simple and include actives such as your exfoliating acids in the same routine as those serums. I know it can seem a little bit baffling and skincare can seem a little bit like mind-blowing, but hopefully with these hints, tips and hacks, it just makes it all a little bit easier, because at its basis, skincare should be fun. It shouldn't be stressful. You should be worrying about it. It should be fun. And hopefully that's just broken down some of those myths. Wherever you are in the world, guys, and whatever time of day it is, I hope you're staying safe and well. Sending you lots and lots of love. Take care. Bye.